PianoLive.com. This is an advanced lesson. So this is for students who are known by their friends as a pianist. You've got hopefully some knowledge of chords, maybe some sheet music reading, some sight reading skills. You know chords. You've been playing enough to impress almost all of your friends with your piano skills. So if that's you, you're in the right place. If you're in the lesson and it feels way too advanced, you might want to go check out yesterday's lesson, the intermediate version of this week's topic, or the lesson before that, the beginner's lesson, because those will break down the same concepts, only easier. So, but if you are an advanced student, then ask away. No question is too advanced or too obscure. So this is just all about you. You got to ask me the questions so I know what to answer and know how to help you out best. There's a couple other things I want to talk to you about too before this countdown clock gets to 0. All right, first and most important, ask a lot of questions. The way that you're going to do that is there's a couple different ways. You can jump in the chat room and talk with the other students who are logged in at the same time. I'll be watching the chat room too. You can ask your questions there. Or if it's a question that's just for me, a question about the lesson, especially if you know it's one that's going to fit best at the question and answer time at the end, then you can just put your name and your question in the box below this video, click submit, and then I will get that. Now, if you're already in the archives, if you're watching this not live, but you're watching this in the archives, then make sure at the end of the lesson you click on the survey button. You don't have to fill out the entire survey. If you want to, I'd love your feedback, but really the best part of that is that you can put your question in there, and then when you click submit, then I will get all of your questions. I'll make sure that you get them answered, whether you're in the archives or you're live. Right next to this video, there should be a PDF button and an MP3 button. Now, you don't really need those till after the lesson because I'm going to be showing you on screen the PDF and showing you how to use it. And I'll play the MP3 during the lesson too, so you know at the end of the lesson how you're going to use that. Some people, though, like to print out the PDF ahead of time, so as I'm making notes on my version, they can make the same notes on their version, but it works either way. All right, this is perhaps the most important part. You need to leave the lesson when you feel like you're sufficiently challenged. So, I'm teaching these lessons, 12 to 15 lessons a month. Normally in traditional lessons, you're getting like a lesson every other week or so. So this is just way too much for you to take in. So, the goal is for you to get some little nugget of something that you can really practice on, really work on. Once you feel like you have that, then you really don't need anything else from me. Go practice. That's where this stuff is really gonna happen. You're not going to get through this lesson and be able to play something really well. You're going to get through this lesson and have the information that you need to practice more effectively. That's really the goal here. So don't feel bad about taking off early. If you feel like halfway through the lesson you got as much as you can take in at that time, then go practice that thing, and then come back whenever you've got that thing down, or you're bored with it, or you just want to check out the next topic. Don't forget also that you've got the archives too. So if you want to see one little thing, just repeat it over and over and over. Just give me, hopefully within 24 hours after the lesson, this thing will be up in the archive, so you can just go back and watch it over and over and over and over and just get that little segment down. All right, today we're doing everybody's favorite topic. Out of the 8 sectors of musicianship, the one that everybody always likes the most is application. That's where you finally actually get to play a song. So if you've been here for the last couple weeks, you'll notice a lot of the same concepts popping up today, because we're going to take those concepts, we're going to apply them to a very specific song. If you haven't been here, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to play all of our little concepts. So hopefully at the end of today's lesson, you'll have all the tools to practice an actual real song that you can play for your friends and impress them. Let's go.
Okay, so that's the song, 1,000 Years, and let's talk about a little bit about how to cover this thing and about what we missed out on yesterday and the day before. Yesterday was kind of a lot of the stuff that we cover in the beginner's lesson, because on the beginner's lesson this week, we went through the kids lesson, which actually, even if you're an advanced student, you might want to go check that out. Some interesting stuff to do in there with key changing, transposition, stuff like that. But anyway, we're going to be in the key of B flat, and thank you all again for your suggestions. If you're back from Monday and Tuesday, then we've already made some really great changes to the way we're approaching these covers. First thing is we're going to take a look at the key of B flat. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then back to 1. So this is the key of B flat, and of course the goal is eventually that this would just be a set of notes that you imprint on top, just like the overlay that you can see right here, where I've got ones as important notes, and then everything else is just this pattern, this U-shaped pattern that we have here that we talked a lot about yesterday, I believe. So the key of B flat is the key for this, and then this is the entire melody all the way from the beginning to the very end, just like you've requested. From the first word here, heart. So this is going to be 1, 1, 1, that's heart beats fast. 3, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. That's the colors and promises. How to be brave. How can I love when I'm afraid to fall? But watching you stand alone, all of my doubt suddenly goes away somehow. One step closer. So those are all of those numbers, and then it goes on with the rest of it. So the goal is, when you're covering this, to just put all those notes on top. So you want those to be the highest notes that are played. So that would look something like this. Now when you're using these chords over here to put underneath it, I went back to the old version. Now, since we had enough complaints yesterday with the version that I gave you, this is just like we used to do it here. So heart beats fast, colors and promises. How to be brave. How can I love when I'm afraid? So those are all the numbers from the previous page, and then you just want to play the chords underneath that. So it'd be E flat, beats fast, colors and promises. That's a B flat over D, which is just a B flat chord where a D is the lowest note. So that is a B flat over D, because you have B flat on top and D on the bottom, the single note, not the chord D, the single note D underneath the B flat chord. But so you could do that like that. But that's really hard to do, obviously. So you could just play it like that or like that. This is all B flat over D. So you could do it with one hand as long as you make that lowest note, the D in the B flat chord. Or if you have two hands to do it. So that's what I've been playing, was heart beats fast, colors and so this is my chord right here, B flat, D, and F. Just like we say here on this other page here, the B flat chord. It's supposed to be B flat, D, and F. B flat, D, and F. But I also have those notes in there, right there. There we go. So B flat, D, and F. B flat, D. So duplicating some of it, but you can see the D is the lowest note there. So it's heart beats fast, colors and promises. How to be, how can I love when I'm afraid? Now the biggest thing about this song is that it's in 6/8, so you need to make sure that you give the feeling of a 6/8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Most important notes there are going to be the 1 and the 4. By the way, because of your suggestions, I'm trying to incorporate the questions that you send into the lesson as you send them in, because a lot of the questions ask about things that happen earlier in the lesson. So when I was not checking the question answer thing until the question answer time, then sometimes we were reaching pretty far back in the lesson. So I'm trying to keep an eye on that and then just incorporate that into the lesson and still have a Q&A time if we have any questions that I have not answered yet in the lesson. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. But if you are missing the Q&A time at the end, or you see me constantly looking up there, that's to check on the private chat there with your questions. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6. Those are the two main pulses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can hear at the beginning, they're actually only playing piano on the 1 and the 4. So you've got that going on, but then of course if you're going to play that as a piano solo, then you need more rhythm going on. You can't just play that. You need more happening there. So you can play that at the beginning, but it does not give the feel of a 6/8, if you're especially unless the melody. Nowhere in there yet. It's not until right about there that it actually shows any of the other in-between pulses, the 2, 3, or the 5, 6. So it would help if you would emphasize those. I'd recommend doing that in the left hand with some of the other chord tones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. Down here is just to kind of make that rhythm continue to happen. It's not actually serving any major harmonic role. It's just trying to make the audience feel that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2. So all of that is just, all the in-between stuff that you see me playing is just to keep that rhythm going so that 6/8 continues to be felt. 6/8 is a pretty compelling rhythm, let's say that. It's very, it is the rhythm that I would say is most likely to get your audience swaying or moving along with you, just as a playing time signature. It's harder to if you're playing a 6/8 properly and a 4/4 properly, the 6/8 should, in my opinion, make your audience more engaged because it's got those heavier pulses. That might not be true at all, but I definitely feel that way about 6/8s. Does that just mean that I like them? I don't know. Maybe I need to put some introspection into that. But anyway, so you want to make sure that 6/8 gets felt in there, especially that 1 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then this is your play along that you have right here, and the goal of that is just I don't know. You could play along with that. That's your if you play your play along track. Here we go. 3, 4, 5, 6. We have two of those. Do the same thing on Monday. Yeah, okay. So I play the chorus 2 times through. Once they're there and once they're there. So that is what your play along track sounds like. But of course, if you're already playing that, you could just play at that speed. You could just play along with the Christina Perri version off of YouTube or something similar. But anyway, that's the non-copyright infringing version of the song for the play along. So you've got all your chords. You've got your play along track right there, and then over here you've got all of the numbers for the melody. You're supposed to keep your melody on the top. And other than that, I think that's just about it. The goal, again, keep the melody on the top. Use these chords as opposed to the ones that I gave you yesterday, which was the not Jamin version. That was the ultimate guitar version. And I think this is going to be more complete with especially with the slash chords like the F over A. And then, of course, you can all do all the chord substitution stuff that we have talked about before, about like turning chords into a 2-5-1s, things like that. That's going to give it more of a, especially on a 6/8, it's going to give it a way more gospel-y feel. So that would be something like... something like that. So probably if I was going to cover this song, I would play it just like what's on your PDF and not doing a bunch of chord substitutions. Especially in a 6/8, if you start doing chord substitutions, you're really going to run into a much jazzier feel a lot faster than we do on the 4/4 tunes. So I'm going to recommend no chord substitutions this time around. Just use all of your scales and stuff that we've talked about before. Most of this is in B flat. The whole thing is in the key of B flat. Most of the scales are going to be B flat. For example, on the G minor, an additional scale that you might use is the G minor scale, which is the same set of notes as the B flat major, because B flat major and G minor are relatives, as we've talked about in other lessons. But when we get to that section, so on the flat chord, you still want to use that sharp 4, so that's going to be that E flat Lydian feel that, 80% of the audience just went, what? Lydian? What are you talking about? And the other 19% went, oh, I think he talked about that in one of those modes lessons. That was a weird lesson. And then like 1% of you know what in the world I'm talking about. So that's just an E flat scale, but it's got a raised 4. Which sounds really weird just out of context, but in context, listen to that G minor. That's the same set of notes, and it sounds perfectly fine right there. So that's a good time to use that E flat Lydian scale, and maybe build like a two-handed thing out of the E flat Lydian scale. So maybe like you could play these two and those two. So those are taking notes out of the Lydian, out of that scale, and then just playing some of the notes with the left hand and some of the notes with the right hand. I'm just playing 2 notes in the left hand, just relatively random notes out of that scale, and then repeating. So let's try one time. That sounded terrible. Sounded less terrible, I think. So anyway, you could do some of those things we've talked about on this other ones using the B flat major, G minor, and E flat Lydian, which are all the same set of sharps and flats, but different feels entirely. So anyway, there are some ideas for those chords, and that's honestly just about it. It's got one weird C minor chord in there, a 2 chord, like we talked about yesterday. One step closer, right there. So we've got one C minor in there. Actually, at the end of each of the verses, there's one C minor. It happens in the same place every single verse. I think those are the only 2 in this song. Yep. Yep. There's not one at the end even. So anyway, you got some relatively boring chords, I guess, in this song, and the C minor gave you some scales to work on and some notes. And let's see if there's anything we did not cover. If you're waiting for the new Clopple Academy Level 4 with the jazz integration, I'm hoping this weekend that's going to be out for you. So sorry about the delay on that. I know it's been about a week and a half now. So anyway, I think that's it though. Anyway, till next time, you know I love you. Good luck, y'all. Have fun.